this computer. Okay, we are recording. So let me get things started here. Welcome to, let's see, the MicroProfile Live Hangout, May 5th, 2020. This is the working group edition. So the meeting notes should be in the chat, and I don't know if someone stuck them in there. I see somebody pasted something in the chat.
Emily.
All right, thanks, Emily. It is every login, add your name to the list of attendees, and it is everyone's shared responsibility to take notes.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, oh, and the chat text will be copied as part of the recording. So just a heads up. Go ahead, Amelia.
Yeah, okay, everyone who wants their faces and the picture that we're going to tweet, please, this is your time. 5 seconds before I go for it.
Oh.
There you go. Look at all these familiar faces. Okay. Done.
Oh, wait a minute.
Okay. Oh, he's gone green. He's gone green.
So we need another one. Okay, another one, guys. Like,
wait a minute.
Seriously.
He's changing his background. He's changing his background.
Oh, come on. Like, seriously, this is why if anyone out there is looking into this and sees what project to join in open source, join us. This is fun. Okay, now do we have it? There. Going again.
Okay, you got it? All right, we're all ready. And we've had, I think Tanya join and David, of course. All right, thanks everyone. So for this week, oh, I'm gonna share the browser here. Share screen. Go to Google Chrome. All right, hopefully nothing compromising there. I think we're okay. And please, if you're on the call, add your name here to this list of contributors. Not a whole lot new in terms of just the core tracking stuff. So we are tracking in GitHub. I'm not going to go ahead and click on them today. There is a working group milestone that all the issues that we're creating roll up into. And the only difference is I've started, and I've just added you and Ryan St. James, Amelia, to this presentation, which is kind of the prospectus. And it's 100% lifted from the Jakarta one, right? With, well, not 100%, but it's heavily lifted. So you'll see here that I just followed that format, and it's mostly copy and paste, except for who we are. So I started working on this deck. So if the marketing committee kind of wants to jump in on this, I'll be on the marketing call next week. We can hack on this a bit.
Did you drop this under marketing drive already, or
it's created under the MicroProfile account in the community drive. So there's
that's the one.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to keep all the working group stuff together in the community drive. So okay. All right, so that's kind of a little bit of an update there. And then I might also create a flyer as well.
And don't worry about the designs. John, don't worry about the designs. Last week we agreed that you and I will attend the next 2 months MicroProfile marketing calls to make sure that, you know, this call that is fully on gets to all the projects, all the tickets that we need to get out, because it needs to be in parallel with the charter. And and we will use the Git, so it should be not noisy and should be very efficient. So I'm pretty excited on this side. Go ahead.
Okay, so I thought one thing that we could tackle today is seeing if we could finish off this draft with the exception of the working group fees, because that's going to take vendors to kind of get together and nail that part of it down. So I'm hoping everyone has had a chance to review this. What we did last time is we kind of collapsed everything. Sorry, I'm also going to pull up the chat here so I can see what people are chatting about. Okay, and I should also increase the font size. There we go. As we collapsed everything down into, from having a working group membership, sorry, a guest membership. God, I'm so sorry. What we did last time was we collapsed down the voting from including committer members to instead have everybody that's a committer vote, and that vote rolls up into the result of that single vote. We consolidate it to a single vote that'll then be rolled up into the overall steering committee vote. What that means is we have corporate members. In this scenario, we would not have committer members. And we're discussing what's the value of having a guest member. So this is the third type of membership that a lot of working groups, if not all of them, have some sense of a guest member. The discussion on the right basically says, well, if all of our meetings are open and if we have an adopters page, people that adopt MicroProfile have their logo on some, have their logo on an adopters page. What is the value of having a guest membership, right? So that's kind of where the longest discussion thread, remaining discussion thread lies, right? So David, I think you had some thoughts around officiating a guest member, right? Kind of setting a bar for having your logo on an adopters page or on our front page or wherever, right? Some official recognition of from the steering committee, from the working group that you are, God, what's the right word? I don't want to say worthy, but you're recognized as being a heavy, supporter of MicroProfile.
Sure. Well, on the Jakarta side, guest members are invited. So that would be the concept here. Is like if we wanted to invite somebody to, because we knew that they wanted to participate, we could just invite them. And basically on our the main question is on the front page of our website. We currently have a lot of logos, and there needs to be some sort of system on how we decide how to put a logo on the front page, right? If it's anybody in the world who wants it can get their logo on the front page, then everybody would put their logo on the front page, and it would be too large. And we would probably end up moving everybody but the working group members away to another page of people who simply like MicroProfile, right? But if there's someone who is a little bit more involved, or we hope is more involved, we could invite them in as a guest member. So basically, what I was imagining is that anybody who doesn't join as a corporate member on that logo set, we would just by default invite them as a guest member and keep their logo on the page.
So here's a question:
And on the
do you have to be a guest member in order to do that, or do you just simply vote as a steering committee, yay or nay?
No, I don't understand your question, John.
So I'll try to rephrase it. I think what John is asking, do we really need a separate guest membership, or could it just be brought up and say, hey, can we put Hammock on our front page and have that as a vote?
So,
well, I mean, they're sort of the same, right?
I know. So let me cut to the chase. I don't think that there's any problem with us continuing with a guest membership idea. So I don't know that we have to pull it out. It was just a proposed simplification. And if we don't like it and we want to keep it, I think we should just keep it.
But one thing we need to be clear, what kind of criteria do we have, to put the company's logo on the front page? In the past, we don't have this a guest membership or this kind of category. And then any company come to MicroProfile said, okay, I would like to join MicroProfile, right? And then their logo is kind of being put to the MicroProfile.io. If we don't have any, don't want to change the process, or what kind of criteria for this company to have their logo showing up? At the moment, I don't think we have a kind of problem to display more logos or have a problem to pushing people away. So I feel anyone is still free to join MicroProfile, right? So if we just say, okay, if we want to keep the guest member, yeah, so be it. Just have this guest member. But I think it's probably we continue with the past practice. Anybody can join MicroProfile. Any company can join MicroProfile.
So do we have to decide on how you become a guest member in order to complete this section? Because I'm assuming how wouldn't be covered within the working group text.
Let me interject here because I think this is important. We have been very informal, and I think that has been helpful for the project itself, since we only asked the branding side of each partner added to the logo to sign the Eclipse agreement. They have to do that before we do that, so that we are not sued, and all of it has been clear. This is a summary of why this logo exists. It has been approved, it has been asked, and then they have to sign something that says you are authorized to use Eclipse MicroProfile is authorized to use a logo, and we give total rights, and they have to drop their logos. One of the things that I find interesting is that if we add, I really like the idea of guests, we will add a second layer saying invited guests or something similar, simple, and then it go there. But I wonder, do we keep it in that page, or do we revamp the contributors page under MicroProfile and add those companies? This is an idea. Those companies as a contributor or a user. Do you see a guest is not someone that is likely someone that might contribute onto something? It's a user. It's someone that really likes MicroProfile. There are so many types of guests, like contributing. When someone contributes it, depending on what we find on the budget, that is for another day, should we bring them to this main site that is a little bit more corporate, or should we loosen up and bring it to the contributors, which shows all the pages and is directly linked to the GitHub? We can even change it. It's automatic. It's super automatic. What I think about guests, I think about automatic. You can be a guest if you are using, supporting MicroProfile, but I do not know how to do this, clean.
So my recommendation is that we hold off on this aspect of the discussion for the guest membership. It's a good discussion to have, but not for finishing off the charter.
Yeah.
Create a GitHub issue on it, because we're going to have to track a lot of the stuff. A lot of our processes are going to have to change or be updated, and some new things will come in, and we need to track these things. So this should be a GitHub issue.
Correct.
That we track. But are there any other thoughts about this? Okay, so I'm okay with keeping guest membership in here. It's what's the right word? You know, it's a non-binding vote member who's earned the right to have a special, I guess, kind of relationship with the MicroProfile community, as voted on by the steering committee. So maybe we should look at the wording that's there then.
I think we need to add to be designed, to be specified or detailed, or, you know, like we don't have the juice of it yet. So we need something that will refer to it later, to say, you know, to be defined later. I have no idea. Make it super vague so that we have ample bandwidth to make it whatever we dream of. And that means when we hear from those guests to help us make this better.
Well, I wouldn't put it in the charter text. It could be maybe a comment somewhere.
Mm-hmm. We could also just delete that sentence that I added. It was just there for people to see how guest membership could be relevant for us. If we delete the sentence that I added, then that paragraph should be exactly identical to the definition we have in the Jakarta side of the fence.
For now, that sounds good to me.
But then, David, isn't that the argument that you were using, that we needed some type of process to indicate when it's okay to put one on?
Well, right. It still says guests may be invited to participate in, you know, well, so I'm fine leaving it. It just seems to be that whenever we've put a suggestion in, like projects have to release an open source TCK as well as the official TCK, the statement is, yeah, you can do that, but you don't need to put it in the charter. So I'm fine leaving the sentence there and coming up with better, you know, wording to indicate the mood about when we would invite somebody in as a guest. Mm-hmm. But you know, for the sake of getting this done as quickly as possible, I'm open to feedback.
I think I will not associate a guest number with the logo, because the guest member, like we say, is invited for 1 year. What if like next year we invite a different company, and then we delete the previous company and then it's kind of replaced with another one? For me, I feel like this logo now is quite low bar. If someone say, I would like to support MicroProfile, yeah, is send them like an email on the mailing list. Right? That's the kind of a practice in the past, and the logo being added.
Well, let me bring this up. Currently, the members logos are in the main page, and that is strategically done and has never been adjusted. And they are added not by alphabet, by when they, you know, like coming together, right? And I believe that that page needs to be adjusted, and it's likely that members needs to its own living page, so that we never worry about inviting too many. There will never be an issue when we will have a problem inviting too many. On the contrary, we want the project to be so low entry to contribute, to be excited to use, to support, that will need to be adjusted as soon as we do other things on the branding side. So Emily, if you're thinking about, oh, what is too many? Let's withdraw that and say, why do we think it's too many? It's because we're fixed on what currently is, and that will no longer be the future of MicroProfile once we have this charter and we make it a little bit less fluid and more adaptable in the sense of adding logos, right? We can have historical logos, which is something that I like particularly. That is something in the Eclipse Foundation committers history that I think is amazing that we could have. I believe that someone that supported MicroProfile in the past, who no longer is active, even a contributor, a corporation, it still deserves the merit to be in the history of the project itself. And that is important, right? because that person or that company might return or might not, but we are not erasing the contributions when they happen. And it's worthy, it has value. Does that answer that side?
Not really.
Me either.
On the contrary, I don't feel we have too many logos on the MicroProfile.io. So basically, let me try to clarify what I'm trying to say is in the past, the MicroProfile.io logo is has a very low entry point. Basically, if someone saying, "Oh, I want to join MicroProfile as a company," and then their logo being added, have a guest member and then have their logo added. So my concern is, are we going to raise the bar for companies to join MicroProfile.io or what?
I don't think we would raise the bar. I think that would be the same bar, but everybody gets a vote. So people could individually decide they want the bar to be higher or lower, but that's a vote, right? The thing that would happen is that it says in the description of guest membership is that they have to execute the agreement, which is how we get permission to put their logo on the website in the first place, right? That's a critical aspect. The second aspect of it is that we need some sort of process to decide on adding logos, because if there is no process, we can't just capriciously say some companies can be on the website and some companies cannot, right? So there are like antitrust laws that prevent bodies like us from unfairly advantaging some companies and disadvantaging other companies. And so if we have no actual process for deciding how someone gets their logo on the website, then literally anybody can get, then literally we have no grounds to turn away anybody ever for any reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this is important because
when I say that, I mean, a bill collections company could come and want to get their web logo on the website. We would need, if we don't have a process and what's written down is anybody can get their logo on the website. That means anybody.
Mm-hmm. So what we did before when we added everyone, it was work directly, microprofilers work directly with the partners interested. They had to sign the agreement, so they have to say the agreement has been signed, and then they had to drop the logos into the drive. And that was an email saying you are authorized because we have signed this. We don't get those agreements because those are private between the Eclipse Foundation and the corporations. But there is an email that states that I believe that we can just get issues for that kind of process and we can just keep it because it has worked in the past and it has protected the project itself from anything that is added. We have always had a process. It's only that we didn't have repos to use to have that information.
Right. So go ahead.
So this is kind of right into the conversation, what kind of criteria for adding logos to the MicroProfile.io, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's where I don't necessarily want to. Yeah. I mean, well, the process.
And that's the advantage of having it be like just a simple vote, because the criteria can be subjective to each voter.
Exactly. We have a process.
Hold on. So when we have a vote for committers, for example, we don't have like a criteria list, but everybody individually, when they vote on a committer, kind of has some criteria in mind. Right. And so we voted in people who are coders and people who are not coders. We voted in, and we've changed, we've iterated. So anyway, the process would be someone expresses some interest. We vote them in as a guest member. If that vote passes, they sign the agreement, and then we're legally cleared to put their logo on the website. And I don't see why it needs to be any more complicated than that.
Yeah, that's what we do today. But now we will add a vote, which is even more awesome in my book.
But one thing is the guest member has a 1 year duration.
We can ratify it. Do you see when someone is proving to, we can add something that says ratification, like the JCP he has, that is internally only run by, you know, by the body. And that is kind of a cool feature that we can develop later when the need arises.
We just vote, well, we just renew the vote, right?
Correct.
You vote to renew,
Ratify.
yeah, you just vote to renew it in a year.
Yeah, ratification every year.
Yep.
And if someone is wondering about t-shirts and having 100 logos in the t-shirt, I think that can be doable. Like, I don't see an issue with that.
We're gonna walk around looking like race cars.
I do not know, but it's just the logos go in the back.
Well, that's a problem that I don't think we're going to have that problem, to be honest. That's a problem. I think that's a bridge to cross when we get there.
Yeah.
Is there any other feedback from anyone that hasn't had a chance to talk yet? Okay, so my recommendation is to remove the highlighted text. That's what David had highlighted before, and we just kind of leave it to the default.
Can you add that members will need to be voted? I don't see that here. That, I think, is something, guest members will have to be voted. Will need to follow the regular voting. That needs to be added in this part.
I don't think that's specified anywhere in the other charters.
Okay, so we keep it light?
So the process can be defined outside of the charter, because we may decide at some point to change the process.
Okay. What does everyone else think? I actually like that the commuters will vote on incoming members as a fixed.
Well, it's steering committee members, yeah.
Yeah, but
That makes sense in my opinion, but I'm
Go
not
ahead.
too deep into the details of all the legal stuff, but it makes sense.
what makes sense, Edwin?
To have the committers vote on who is joining and not, because I think there has to be some barrier somewhere, even yeah, as low as possible, of course, but there has to be some barrier, because otherwise you can just run around with the logo, I guess. So I don't think that's the idea behind it.
And then I was thinking not the steering committee to vote, but I was thinking the entire committers get to vote on this. I'm going even higher to make it so it's explicit on the level. I find it dangerous that the steering committee will think that they get to choose because they are corporate. I think that is a bit weak.
No, but wouldn't we just follow the same voting structure as what we've already talked about?
Yeah, three votes. Three votes.
It would just be the working group vote.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if
yes, it would be a working group vote. The one thing that is missing, that is here in Jakarta, and this is consistent, I think, across the various ones. I just happen to pull up Jakarta. But under no circumstances have voting rights. And I'm guessing they'll also have to execute the MicroProfile participation agreement.
Yeah, that is a must. We will not be able to add them the logos without it.
Excuse me, I muted myself and intended to unmute myself. Both those sentences are in the description we have.
Is it? Did I miss it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's there.
You missed it. Right there.
Oh, it's down here. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yep. I
Okay,
think
all
deleting
right.
David,
My bad.
David's thing, David's sentence, I think is a +1 from me. If anyone else wants to keep
I'm
it.
fine with whatever. I just want to get this done.
I am going to delete. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to do this. Just delete this whole section like this. Man. I don't know if that resolves or cancels, but they're gone.
Resolves.
And I'm also going to resolve this because there's no changes. So membership summary is going to have to, actually it stays the same, appointed invitation. I am continuing to scroll down here. What about ad hoc committee votes? So the one thing that came up is sometimes we will have an ad hoc committer, an ad hoc vote. And if we're having committers vote, what does that mean?
Well, I think we even talked about this on our last meeting, that we would just, if it's just an ad hoc vote, then we would count the committers that have attended that that particular meeting.
Yep, I agree. So I think we can resolve this.
Does this fall onto failing to attend meetings 3-4 times? If we have, if we keep what we currently have, that works great for MicroProfile, twice a month, these public meetings, how many can, I don't think any place here is good standing, right? Like we have not really talked about it on this call. Can we discuss it?
Well, the good standing right now is a minimum of 3 of the last 4 meetings.
After that means you don't get to vote on anything if you're corporate or like.
As per the Eclipse Foundation bylaws, a representative shall be immediately removed from the body upon termination. No, that's termination of the membership. That's different. What is? I wonder if that would be in the bylaws. Good standing.
Or
okay. That's the director. Regular meetings. I think this might actually be it. It's in the context, I think, of the board, of the board itself.
do we have a copy paste? I see some wording that is similar to what currently is under the document.
Yeah, I could copy and paste, but I think, let's see here, I'm doing a time check. I think for now, let's take a note in the interest of time, and maybe we can even come back to it today.
Mm-hmm.
And the note says, what happens if not in good standing?
Exactly. And we can even work it offline during the from the document if we don't get to it today.
Okay. This is definitely sausage making in process here. Okay. And I think that's mainly what we had left.
Actually, we have another topic besides the budget. And that is about recognizing what contributions are, what a committer or contributor, what is worth, what is the value. And I think there is something in here that says, what kind of contributions does the project considers valuable to converting someone into MicroProfile, into a committer. So someplace here, I can't remember the page. I think Kevin and I commented, but I didn't go into it this week.
Well, right now, committer is defined as somebody makes a proposal. What's the right word I'm looking for? Recommend somebody. And then there's an official vote by the existing committers.
No, but I'm talking about, I'm sorry about this. I'm not talking about nominating someone. I am talking about when we nominate someone, who do we nominate what? We have nominated people in the branding side that have contributed design, ideas, creative. We have, most projects under the Eclipse Foundation are based on just code. MicroProfile has always been like, every contribution counts when it's consent. And I think it's in writing. I adjusted something and only Kevin went in and we need to rewrite it. And the level that says, you know, what do we consider value? Based on the 4 years in the past, we have so many different ways contributors get to be valuable to us, and they turn into committers. And I think it's important to us to add something that says beyond code. To me, it's important because through our teams, and we know people from Latin America, Africa, that might not contribute to the code, but are providing sessions and are checking or reviewing PRs and all those kind of things. And it's like important to be specified. I actually did delete the code and I rewrote it, but again, it has not been tackled. And I think it's something important that we should check it during this call.
So regardless, okay, you go, Kevin. I've been talking.
Well, yeah, I just want, I mean, it's a good discussion to have, but it doesn't fit in the charter description.
Charter, we have said not, we did remove the word code, so it's now very open. So if we don't discuss it in the charter, that is okay. I just want to make sure that it wasn't reverted to be just code.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, right? I haven't checked the document this week since last Thursday. So if it was reverted, because we see that we have everything clear, I want to discuss it because I will fight it. And I think
it was, yeah, I think it was deleted because we just deleted the committer members. I think it was discussed under there. And so it just got, as part of the massive acts, it got lost. My recommendation, I agree this is a good discussion to have, especially since I'll be joining some of the marketing meetings now, that we do have this discussion in the Google group. That's where I start a thread on it.
Do I do it?
Yeah, start a thread on it.
Okay, add me in the minutes as a task, and I will do that. Thank you, John.
You add it.
I will add it. I have the minutes. Apologies. I will do it. It's great.
Well, what is the famous quote? Don't be work.
It is everyone's collective. Yes, it is everyone's collective responsibility.
Total fail here. I get it. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm having fun here. Okay, are there any other, what I'm hoping is that based on this definition, we can go back to Paul Buck, who's our executive sponsor, and say, does this move us from, sorry, there's the 3 phases, I can't remember what the first one is, into the proposal phase, I think, or it's a proposal to, heck, hold on.
I think there's like a draft status of some sort?
Nah, there's prospectus. Move out of prospectus. No, that's prospectus is wrong. I did the wrong one. Dagnabbit. Let's do.
Watch your language, John. Dagnabbit. Seriously.
I know, man. Rascally Wabbit.
Exactly.
Oh, that's marketing. No wonder. I was in the wrong one. Okay, go into issues and milestones. Working group. Here we go. We're in the opportunity phase. I'd like to actually move into the proposal phase. Right, and really the only thing we have left in the opportunity phase is completing the draft. Once we complete the draft, then Mike has to sign off. Right, which means it's really making sure that Paul and Mike approve of this to move on to the next phase. After that, the proposal phase, we have to have the initial charter published, which means that we're probably going to have the fee structure in place. 3 committed participants, which we already have. Recruiting materials.
I thought it was 5. You're talking about
5 is when we get to phase 3, I think.
Oh, okay. I'm confusing stuff here.
Incubation phase. Yeah, incubation phase is 5 committed members. So we're going to have to go to, you know, again, this is all marketing next week. So let's just punt it here for now. So we are going to have this charter published. Right now, it's a Google Doc. It'll have to be up on the website. And it'll have to have a fee structure in place, and the vendors will have to get together and discuss that. Okay, so that's where we're at. So Kevin and I will go to Paul and ask Paul if this is sufficient for draft status.
So this means that we are converting this into the final VO2, and if that is approved, we will move into VO3 and then start talking about the budget, correct?
Yeah.
I'm just going through versions, milestones.
Yep, that sounds okay to me.
Anyone else?
Okay, let's. Yep.
Sorry, quick. I will be quick. So next.
You are between golf. This working group meeting golf. I'm just kidding.
We're a little bit goofy today.
Go ahead.
So
go ahead, Emily.
So it's like an opportunity and then proposal and then incubation. So we will end up as incubation, or we need to graduate.
We need to basically graduate, right? Because each phase requires a executive director approval.
Right. So that means you are going to create another phase then after incubation, right?
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a new phase. It's just, you just kind of move to the next step. It's a tracking mechanism. That's all it is.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I was a bit confused with this GitHub.
Emily, that was a good question. I was asked a question like in the Nexus saying MicroProfile has been an incubator project under Eclipse for 4 years. And when is it the MicroProfile will be out of incubation? This I couldn't answer. And I wonder if by completing this charter and making a formalized working group, we will be able to get out of incubation. And this is a question that was asked only once in 4 years. So do you see how we don't even think about this? Do we have any idea on this?
I've thought about this actually for a long time. Not a long time, like the past 6 months.
Thinking is okay, but we never talk about it. It's like something that is on the side, never to, we know we're in an incubation. So what are the insights on this? Does anyone know? What would it take? And all these other things that come to pass as, we move to the next phase of MicroProfile.
You have to hold a graduation review, and forming the working group doesn't help because most of the Jakarta EE things are still incubating too. It's a special kind of review, like a release review. Wayne or whoever the sponsor is for the Paul could explain it.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ed. This is something that I've wanted to look into. Yeah, and I agree. Just keep in mind that really what's going to happen is we're going to create a working group. Our existing project, because we only have one project right now as a working group, will fold under that. But yeah, that project doesn't necessarily have its incubation status changed. We've never really, how do I say this? It hasn't really impacted us one way or another, so we just haven't moved on it. But yeah, 4 years seems like a pretty good time to move out of an incubation state. And so we got to go back and verify what we need to do.
Okay, so this is something that we will create a new Git issue for later. So what I want to make sure is that if we are delayed to move onto out of incubation, we need to understand why. It's not that it has affected us, but are we mature enough? We have had so many releases, 3 per year. So to me, it seems that we should have even done that before we even did this work. I'm just thinking out loud here, like just noticing, and this only came out as a priority immediately the week of DevNexus because I was asked, and I was like, good question. We have that in the back. It has never affected us, but I cannot tell you. I was totally ignorant, and it was a good reply and good question that we ourselves need to discuss, and maybe pull back for next call. We can have that kind of conversation. Ed, your feedback was great, actually.
For this stuff, I just tend to put down me and Kevin. Does it really matter? Just no milestone release. Okay. Any other items? All right, thanks everyone. We are going to end the meeting early today, so we'll see everyone in 1 week where we'll have our normal live hangout. So same bat time, same bat channel.
And then the next time, I think we're going to do V3, right? That is what we agreed. Closing V2, version V2 of the document, and then moving into budget conversations.
Well, it's going to require a back and forth with Paul and Mike first, but yeah.
Yes. Yes. And okay, this is good.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.